Devotion is the newest action war drama film to premiere on Paramount Plus. This film was in theaters back in November and it completely bombed at the box office. How did I feel about this film? Well, stick around and find out. A pair of U.S. Navy fighter pilots risked their lives during the Korean War and become some of the Navy's most celebrated wingmen. The film stars Jonathan Majors, Glenn Powell, Christina Jackson, Joe Jonas, Spencer Neville, Nick Hargrove, and many others, and was directed by J.D. Dillard. So when Devotion came out in theaters back in the end of November, I had a friend that actually checked out this film, and most of the time we agree on films, and he said he really didn't like this film, so I kind of put this film on the back burner and wanted to wait a little bit till it came to streaming, and it is now on Paramount Plus. I think this film, it has quite a bit of problems, but the positives that I can really say about this film is I think Jonathan Majors does a really good job in this role playing Jesse Brown. I think that he does take this character really serious. He has this brotherhood that he has with the people in the Navy, and he has a really strong relationship with his wife, and I really can tell that he is really taking flying really serious. The film, it does tackle flying, how to follow directions, trying to land a plane, right? And you have to listen to your commander and, not get killed in the battle of war. And the way that this trailer is presented, it's presented in a way that we're going to get a non-stop action kind of film and a big war piece. And I can say that this film, it doesn't really go too much into the war piece. We don't get a lot of action. Most of the action doesn't occur in this film until about 75 minutes into the film. And you get some cool flying kind of scenes before then, but the war scenes don't happen until about 75 minutes in, and they're really short-lived. And I think that a lot of people, when they're watching this trailer, they're going to feel like they've gotten punked going into this film because they feel like this is going to be a high-octane film. And part of the problem is Top Gun Maverick came out a little bit earlier in the year, and that really set the bar really high. So when this film came out in November, it really didn't garnish a lot of interest. And this was actually one of the lowest box office totals for Thanksgiving weekend in years, because you had The Fabelmans that came out, you had Bones and All, you had Strange World, and you had Devotion. And nobody was seeing any of these films this weekend during that time. So it really did affect the box office, and I can see where a lot of people will be really kind of hesitant to check out this film. There's tackling subjects of loneliness, brotherhood, and also racism. However, I think there is a little bit over the top with the racism portion. There's one scene where you have Jonathan Majors' character in a mirror and he's saying all these racist things to himself. But I didn't really feel, compared to other films that I watched about racism this year, I didn't really feel they tackled the subject that well compared to other films. It felt like it was a little bit over the top at points. I just didn't feel like they really hammered that message home. The loneliness portion of the fact that you're on these high seas and you're in a plane and you can't mess up and you have to listen to your commanders and do what's right, and of course be in this army and fight for our country and not get killed. That's really the main thing and main objective and the stressors of being in an army like this. With Jesse and Tom, Glenn Powell plays Tom. I didn't really feel like they had the strongest bond. The film didn't have a lot of momentum. It felt like there was a lot of cause, but we don't get a lot of effect from that cause. And because it doesn't really shimmer in the way that it should, it's a lot of things where it's dangling it in your face, but it doesn't really make a story to be that interesting or that compelling to keep the movie going along. I think we don't learn a lot about Jesse Brown compared to something if we had a documentary. It's a very slow-paced film that just doesn't pick up. And I think when we get to the second half, it tries to feed us a little bit more information about Jesse Brown. And I think that it has certain elements that make the story sort of interesting towards that back half of the movie. But I also think because they promote it as this war film, the war is basically taking a backdrop here, and it's not a main focus. So you're getting a story mostly about this Jesse Brown character, but a lot of the other characters around him don't really help control the story to be a full narrative that's really cohesive and really a narrative that you're just wanting more of. I felt like I would rather look at more so a documentary than a 2.5 hour film about Jesse Brown, because we just don't get a story that, to me, is the best story that they could have made. I think there's some really decent shots in here, and I think Jonathan Majors plays a pretty good role, and he does a pretty good job at acting. I don't think acting is a problem in this film. I definitely think you get some cool plane shots and stuff, but I just think a lot of people will be really disappointed that this just doesn't have enough action in it. So I would give a score of this film a 2.5 out of 5. It's an alright film. I didn't hate this film. I think it's definitely more so a streaming film than more so a actual theater film. So I think that streaming, it could do half decent, and people may get kind of interested in watching it, especially because we just got off that high of Top Gun. So I can see people really being into a plane kind of story. So maybe some people will like some of the story elements here, but I do feel like certain people will think this is a little bit too long and at parts a little bit too boring. But thank you guys for watching this review. Let me know in the comments, did you like this film? Did you hate it? Was it kind of meh? Let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on my next review.